Hello, my global beings. It's I, Jules the Bard. I'm here to make space with you and to share something I've really been thinking about. I'm going to start this new video series, and I'm really excited about it. And so, this is going to be my first installment of the series called Cultural Universals. So, I studied sociology at the University of Carleton, and one of the funnest things, because I just love community, hanging out in groups, people, doing all the things. And one of the things I learned about are called cultural universals. And cultural universals are usually things that predate back to when we were a smaller unit. Even like the dawn of time, our first tribes or caves full of people. And a cultural universal is just something that all cultures across the world share. And most times it's because it's something that we used to do at the dawn of time and is kind of like coded within our human selves, like it's in our DNA. So easiest example, cook fire, especially wood cook fires. Unless you've had trauma from fire or others, almost everyone on earth loves the smell of food cooking over a wood fire. So that's why oftentimes people are so drawn to fire. I don't know about you, but I love to sit in the dark with good food or good wine or good, well, I don't really drink anymore. But anyway, you know what I mean? Good company and enjoy firelight. Camping is always a big thing. For my family in the winter and summertime, and a big part of it we always do is fire. And I think it's because, humans in the dawn of time, to survive, you had to be drawn to fire. Especially us, the northern people, to survive, you needed to find warmth and cooking. And that usually involved, a hut or a hovel or a cave or a dwelling of some kind and a cook fire. And that's where people gathered. And that's where people were safe. So yeah, cultural universal. So I actually, I'm going to tell you guys a story because I'm Jules the Bard. And this story is from, I don't know where it's from, but I've heard it before and I've heard it. I'm just going to give you the story that comes from my mind. The details are not going to be the same as you remember, but that's why. So this is going to be my call to action, everybody. Do you have this story in your culture? Do you have it in your language? Do you have it in English but different? Remember it with different details, right? I'm going to give a short version so I can do a reel and a long version of the story. And hopefully, I'm going to get some responses from people out there because I think right now in these times, in these trying times, we have to look for the stuff that is the same. Like, how are we the same? So the story that I really think it's a cultural universal because I can't even remember. And when I looked it up, I found so many like different key versions. So I was like, I'm just going to give it from my mind because I want you to just give it from your mind and what you've been told or someone read to you. I would say it's a childhood story, but to me, it's also like a fable or like um, one of those stories that parents and elders teach you in order to teach you a lesson. I'm pretty sure that this is in one of those. Okay, so ready? Stone soup. Are you hearing this, guys? Like stone soup. I remember this from when I was just a little kid, and I don't know if it was told to me. I remember I feel like there was a Disney version in a fairy tale series about stone soup, but I've also heard someone tell it in a church setting. So basically, the story of stone soup is that a person comes to a town and they're traveling and they're very tired and very hungry, and the market is closing up and they don't have anything to eat, and they're looking around and they're like, oh man, what am I going to eat? So this one person is tidying up their stall, but they still have a fire going. So they go over and they put their cook pot on the traveler puts the cook pot on the fire and drops, draws water, fills the cauldron with water, and drops a stone in it, and then sits beside and waits. And, the person next to them who was tearing down their stall kind of looks and is like, what is this weirdo person up to? And goes over and sees, the rock is in the bottom and it's kind of got those little simmery bubbles on it, and the bubbles are rising and you can see the water start to churn over the fire. And they look at the traveler and they're like, what is this? And he is like, oh. And the traveler is like, oh, it's stone soup. Stone soup? I've never heard of stone soup. What is that? Oh, it's so delicious, the traveler said. It's just got everything that the body needs, and it draws people from far and wide. And the person looked in the soup and was like, I don't know about that. That doesn't look like something I would travel far and wide to eat. It doesn't look like much of anything at all. But did you know I am a merchant of potatoes, and I have these potatoes left. They're the ugly ones that nobody wanted, and there's some brown spots. But if you and I peel them and take the little brown spots out, we can put them in your stone soup, and I think that would greatly improve it. And the traveler dude is like, oh my gosh, great idea. So they, take all the brown spots out and they wash up these potatoes and chop them up and put them in. And as they're doing this, other people who are walking by are, checking it out. And each of them has their own thing. They're like, well, we're very poor, and we've been saving this little thing, like maybe it's turnips or seasonings or what have you. And they all start bringing ingredients, dropping it in the pot, and then sitting there and enjoying each other's company. Someone brings a tea to share, and someone doesn't have any food but brings some mead. And they sit there and they enjoy it together. And the soup, as more and more people come, more and more people are drawn to this gathering. They hear the laughing and the carrying on, and they see the fire, and they start to smell these smells, because as more ingredients are added and more community is involved, they're like, oh my gosh, this smells so good, I can smell it from here, right? And finally, on his way home, a butcher comes with his cart, and he sees everyone gathered there, and he's tired from his day or whatever, and he goes over and he takes a look at the soup and he asks them what they're up to, and they tell him about the stone soup, and he's like, stone soup, goes really well with stone soup. And he takes his best, there's a bone left over that he'd carved from, but it's a big, like, ham haunch bone, pork picnic shoulders, something, big joint there. And it has been smoked and salted, and it still has delicious bits of ham and stuff like that. And they toss it in there, and everyone watches it sink, and they all become very, like, ravenous, and they start to salivate, and the way that it smells is just incredible. And bowls are passed around, and everyone who had gathered, who only brought one ingredient, which alone wouldn't be able to, like, help meet all their nutritional needs or even need for community, now all of a sudden the stone soup has created this wonderful community to fuel the spirit and the soul, and and the soup is going to nurture them, and through nutrition and having more ingredients in order to meet their nutritional profile for the day. So it's a wonderful story about community sharing, and how a little bit of volunteering or a little bit of resources or what have you, when put together, actually has the opportunity to feed an entire village. So yeah, that's my story. That's a cultural universal. I want to say to everybody out there, do you have this story? Do you have a version of the story or a similar story or something that just has the same thing? Because I have a sinking suspicion, especially because you can tell this story from any country, in any place, any time, any community, and it would ring true. So I have a feeling, as a sociologist and lover of community, that this story exists in other cultures. So yeah, the way that we're going to win is if we all find what draws us together, what we can contribute, and how we can work together, and how we can stand up. Because I don't know if you know this, everyone, there's more of us. There are definitely more than us. And if we come together, and we share our universals and find how we're the same, we can also find how we can create a better world tomorrow. So thanks for listening. Check you guys later.